The first thing Dr. Layla Morgan noticed when she stepped into the newly unearthed chamber beneath the Great Pyramid was the absence of dust. Everything was pristine, as if someone had been there recently. And that was impossible. According to the Ministry of Antiquities, this chamber had been sealed for over 4,000 years. Layla was no stranger to the strange. A prominent Egyptologist with a rebellious streak, she had spent years chasing rumors, symbols, and fragments of forgotten texts whispered about in academic circles but never published. Most dismissed her ideas as wild conspiracy theories. The pyramids as power generators, portals, or even alien constructs. Ridiculous, they said. But standing in this untouched chamber, surrounded by symbols that didn't match any known dynasties, she felt the weight of something vast and unexplainable pressing in on her. The flashlight passed over strange carvings, star maps, geometric spirals, and what looked uncannily like a satellite. She froze. That couldn't be. She took a photo, then another, heart pounding. A small opening at the end of the chamber caught her attention. She ducked through it and found herself in a narrow tunnel sloping downward. The air grew colder, damper, and then she saw it, an enormous stone disc, covered in ancient writing, not in hieroglyphs, but something more angular, almost Sumerian. She ran her hand over it. The moment she did, a low hum vibrated through the stone. Back at her camp that night, Layla uploaded the photos to her laptop. Her inbox pinged, a new message from an anonymous sender. "You were not supposed to find that. Stop digging." Attached was a video clip, grainy, black and white, showing men in 1940s uniforms removing something from the same chamber. Behind them stood what looked like a tall, metallic structure. Her hands trembled. She emailed her closest colleague, Dr. Amir Rashid, a linguist obsessed with ancient languages. Within an hour, he was on his way to Giza. "The script isn't Egyptian," Amir said the next morning. "It's pre-dynastic, but also not from this region. Some of these symbols match ones found in Bolivia, and there's a numeric pattern, Fibonacci sequence, embedded in the layout. You're saying the builders of the pyramids used advanced mathematics and shared knowledge across continents before recording history. I'm saying this changes everything." The next day, they returned to the tunnel, this time with a small team and ground-penetrating radar. Beneath the disc was another chamber, far larger than the first. It took hours to carefully open the pathway without collapsing the structure. When the final stone slab was moved, they descended. Inside, the walls were smooth, almost metallic. In the center stood a pillar with inscriptions in dozens of languages, some recognizable, many not. The ceiling above was domed and embedded with crystals that shimmered despite the absence of light sources. At the base of the pillar was a console. Layla refused to call it anything else, with indentations shaped like human hands. Hesitating only a moment, she placed her palms on the stone. The crystals brightened. A low-frequency hum filled the room. Suddenly, projections filled the air. Maps of Earth, constellations, strange machinery, and one chilling image, a pyramid levitating above the ground, glowing with energy. Layla stepped back. "This isn't just architecture," she whispered. "It's a machine." Amir nodded, eyes wide. "Or a message." Suddenly, one of their team members screamed. The entrance tunnel began to collapse. They fled, barely escaping as dust and rock sealed the chamber again. But it didn't matter. They had the photos, the recordings, and more questions than answers. Back in Cairo, word spread fast. Officials denied the chamber's existence. The site was sealed off under the pretense of restoration. Layla and Amir were silenced, their research confiscated by shadowy figures claiming to be from the ministry. But they weren't. Layla knew an intelligence agency when she saw one. Weeks later, she received another anonymous message, coordinates, deep in the jungles of Guatemala, along with a single sentence. The truth is buried everywhere. She and Amir traveled there under aliases. What they found deep in the jungle shook them again. A pyramid identical in structure to the Great Pyramid, but partially collapsed and overtaken by vegetation. Inside were carvings matching those from Giza, along with another disc. This one was split open, revealing a hollow core filled with what looked like circuitry, impossibly old, yet clearly designed. They spent weeks collecting data, debating local patrols, and drones they couldn't explain. Someone, somewhere, didn't want them uncovering these Every lead brought more danger. Layla's apartment in Cairo was ransacked. Amir's passport flagged. They were being hunted. One night, as they prepared to go off-grid, a retired NASA engineer contacted me. "I saw your pyramid projection," he said. "We've seen it too, on Mars. There's a structure in Cydonia, similar layout, same ratios, the same Fibonacci signature. We've known since the 70s, we just couldn't explain it." "Are you saying the pyramids are extraterrestrial?" Amir asked. "Not necessarily," the man replied, "but they weren't built by the ancient Egyptians alone. They're part of something much older, a global network, a signal, or maybe a warning." Layla stared at the man. "Why hide it? Because if the world knew our civilization isn't the first advanced one, if people realized there was another before us, more advanced, wiped out mysteriously, it would rewrite everything. Religion, politics, power. Some would go to war to control the technology. Others would deny it, but the truth would burn through all of it." As Layla and Amir slipped underground, their research hidden across encrypted backups, one thing became clear. The pyramids were not just tombs. They were part of a forgotten story, one we were never meant to remember. And now, the world was on the verge of remembering Layla, and Amir vanished from public view, surviving off encrypted networks, cash, and the kindness of a secretive web of researchers who had been waiting for someone like them to appear. This group called themselves the Continuum, an underground collective of scientists, archaeologists, and intelligence defectors who believed that history had been fragmented on purpose. They called it the Great Concealment, a global erasure of a lost civilization that had once spanned continents and harnessed energy in ways modern science could only dream of. One of their safe houses was a decommissioned weather station in the Atlas Mountains of Morocco. It was there, as snow howled outside the thick walls, that Layla finally connected the dots between the star maps from Giza, Guatemala, and a third anomaly, an underwater anomaly off the coast of Japan, Yonaguni. "They line up," she whispered, tracing a triangular formation on a backlit map. "Not just geographically, energetically," Amir leaned over. "Ley lines." More than that, these sites weren't just power centers, they were amplifiers like a grid. But for what? A voice from the doorway interrupted them. It was Kian, a former astrophysicist turned renegade. "To stabilize something," he said, "not just energy, consciousness.